Sleep is a funny term. Usually sleep denotes a good thing, right? The human body needs about 7 to 8 hours of sleep each day, right? No more than 9 typically, right? And even in the Bible, right, we get a picture that sleep obviously is good, right? And even in modern medicine, when a person is sick, they sleep to get better. We know this because, well, we do this in a daily practice. And of course, it's in John, right? Lazarus being sick and he's asleep, right? The disciples say to Jesus, if he sleeps, he gets better. And yet, sleep is not a good thing. When you hear a Christian sleeping, right, it denotes something bad. In this generation of Christians, and the one coming up, many of them are sleeping. Why? I mean, we hear about the persecution in the Middle East in all sorts of countries, China, and stuff like that, and Christians dying for their faith, meeting in secret because Christianity is outlawed, the Bible's banned, smuggling Bibles into countries. You hear about all this stuff and you think, wow, that's amazing. And yet, so many of them are sleeping. The Bible tells us in Romans, it says that the time has come. The time is drawing near. Our salvation is nearer than we first believed. To wake up. To take off the deeds of darkness. And to clothe ourselves with the Lord Jesus Christ. Right? If we were to be short in a word, why Christians sleep, it is because of sin. Sleep always refers to a dormant state where the body, where you are not physically actively moving, but are in like your own little world of dreams. And it's the same for Christians sleeping. If a Christian is asleep, it means that they're not actively working in their faith. They're in their own little dreams. The Bible tells us in 1 John, it says, do not love the world or the things of the world, because those who love the world do not have the love of the Father in them. And so many Christians are doing just that. They're living out their own dreams. They're loving TV shows, all that stuff, music. They're watching social media, funny videos, all that stuff, this worldly stuff, that obviously doesn't denote Christianity. They're living out their own dreams. They're living life the way they want to. And because of that, they're asleep. The world is such a dulling thing, for a Christian. Because it is Christ that makes us stronger. Right? The Bible tells us it's possible in Ephesians to actually quench the Spirit, and to quell it, to suppress the all-consuming fire of God. And many of us don't know how to do that, We don't know how to suppress a fire, in us as Christians. We don't know how it works. But it's just the same way that you would suppress a fire, a dampener. Something usually a liquid like water, right? Or, a heavy blanket. Something meant to suppress, right? To bring down. And worldly stuff does just that, right? The world is involved heavily with darkness, right? The God of this age has blinded, the minds and clouded their judgment, of the people of this world. So anything that they produce is not godly, it's sinful, right? And yet there's so many Christians out there that are, they're watching, TV shows like Stranger Things, or they're listening to rap music, or, Snoop Dogg, or any other genre that doesn't clearly define Christ. The Bible tells us that the people of this world have denied God, right? In Romans chapter 1, it tells us that they thought that the knowledge of God, knowing Him, was foolishness. And so they created their own God and their own images of what God is. And nowadays it's not so much statues or idols, it is more symbolic, like money or sex or power or fame or success, popularity, enjoyment, pleasure. Like all of these things have become gods. And that is what we fulfill our life in. And Christians have to stop doing that. Because when we're asleep, we're not doing anything. People are not getting saved. People are not experiencing God, And third of all, as representatives of Christ, right? It says in 2 Corinthians that we are ambassadors. We represent Christ. And if we are not doing anything for Christ, if there is no distinction, right, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians, right, that there has to be a distinction between you to show those God has commended. If we are not standing out, then we're no different than the people of the world. What makes Christianity so enticing if everyone is asleep? If we are the same as the people around us? So a lot of people might be thinking at this point, oh, well, he's just saying that I can't watch worldly things. Well, how am I supposed to have fun? I didn't say that. What it did say is that your enjoyment should be Christ. It should be Christ-centered. The things you should do should be all Christ-centered. The movies you watch should be about the glory of God. The music you listen to should be about the glory of God. What does it mean to have a first love and to really love Christ if you are not obsessed with Him, if you are not working for Him? The life we live is not for us. It is for Christ who lives in us, right? We died, right? All this stuff should be gone. We shouldn't be doing our own thing. We shouldn't be living out our own dreams. We should be living out God's. So as I said earlier, if we were to sum up in a word why Christians were sleeping, it would be sin. But Christians don't know that. The people, us Christians think that sin is, the really bad stuff. Oh, don't do drugs. Don't drink, excessively. Don't be a nymphomaniac. Do not be sexually immoral. Don't tell lies. Don't steal. Be loving and all that. That's what we think sin is. But sin has to also do with the things of this world. The things that we involve ourselves with, such as television shows, music, social media. A real test for yourselves is that if you are living out your life for Christ, there should be the fruit of the Spirit there. There should be peace, love, joy, kindness, gentleness, self-control, right? Love. There should be all of these qualities in good measure. And if that's not there, if you examine your life and there is absolutely very little of that, and the things that you watch, the things that you listen to have nothing to do with God, then something needs to change. Because if you are a Christian, we have to be awake. There is no other state of being for a Christian but to be awake. You can't be asleep. You can't be dormant. You can't be inactive. All of these things you can't be. It's hard. A lot of Christians, we get roped up into a world where nobody tells us things like this are wrong. Because we've all been influenced one way or another and led astray. But if we want to prove the sincerity of our love for Christ, to show that we love Him, if we want people to get saved, to make a difference, we want people to be happy, we want them to change their ways, we have to change. We have to let God transform us into His image. Because if we don't do that, nothing's going to happen. It's the same as people being dead. Being asleep as a Christian is no better than being dead. Because you're not a Christian if you're asleep. You're not a Christ follower if you're sleeping. You're just dead. You're dead, you're spiritually dead, and you're dormant. So I want to encourage anybody who's listening to this, examine yourselves, rethink your life. If you are one of those people who's sleeping as a Christian, wake up. If you know somebody who's sleeping as a Christian, tell them, wake up. Send them this video. Any video. We have to be awake for Christ, or no work is going to get done. May the Lord bless you.